Um, Hi, I'm Ben, and this is my episode recap, the final episodes of Fiona and Cake. They were great episodes. I might have a few fan problems of my own, but no, it was still an awesome episode. So the first episode, well, the first of these two episodes that released, is called Casper and Nova. In this episode, Simon went to the Gold universe, like if you remember, and now he runs into Lich Billy from the Dead World, but Lich Billy became a skeleton, and he's like, I wanna. What did I do? I destroyed the world, and now everything's gone. And now he's like, and now he turns into a, a Tetris piece, and now it's on that side now, but yeah, that's it. And Simon, he meets Betty Golb, and he's like, Betty, he's like, I gotta save Fiona and Cake's world. But then Fiona and Cake, like, they woke up in a dream, and it's like, our world's magic again. And then they go to the city, but all the city's melting with good candy. And then they see Gary, and he's like a candy gum creature, and he's like, I made the versions of you, but as candy people, and he eats them, and it's like, oh my gosh. And then there's Marshall, and he's like a vampire creature, but he's burning in the sun. And then LSP, who's like spaghetti now, and like, oh, freaky deaky. They wake up, but then they're in a skating rink, and then they're like, and Cake is there, but Cake is like still the cat, but now it's like we all had the same dream, and there was a scene where Simon was in the fridge but frozen, and I'm like, ooh. But then Cake is like, oh, we need to find everyone, and then Fiona and Cake found Gary and Marshall, and they're like, oh my gosh, what is this? And then they see Cake, and they're like, whoa. But then Simon, like, back to Simon, and he wants to put on the crown in front of Gold Betty, but then Gold Betty stops him. And then he switch brains was, remember those two new characters they added at the end of the Adventure Time finale? And it's like Shermie and Beth, they come back, and then Shermie and Simon swap bodies, and but he need to find a book on the crown, and it's like, we has to do this, pick this, pick this. And it's like, wait, there's gotta, and he finds a book, and it's like a video game book, and then it's like he has to choose his own adventure, but and the game is called Casper Nova. And yeah, it's like, we gotta find this, we gotta find the crown. But then the scarab comes out of the portal, and it's like Betty multiplies into bugs, and then it tries to come out in their world. It's like turns into bugs, and then we're like, we gotta capture, we gotta find Simon. But then LSP freed them, and then they become Scarab person again. And then in the next episode called Cheers, and yes, there is a Cheers scene where I wonder how they got the rights to Cheers. Maybe they were owned by Warner Brothers, so maybe they got the rights. So, and in the next episode, Cheers, they do a 3D picture of the game, and it's like 80s looking 3D in a hand drawn, and it's like, we have to do this, and then it was really cool to look at. But there's a sad person. It's like a choose your own adventure game, and it's like, okay, you have two choices: either do this or do this. The Nova gets squashed, but then Casper does it, but then he might forget. And it's like, what kind of game is this? Like, we need to choose. It was like, well, we've been doing Nova's plan. We've been doing Casper's plan. You never asked if Nova's plan, but Nova and Casper liked each other. Isn't that true? And Beth, who didn't really believe Shermie was Simon, and then Simon was well, what did they do? It's like, you can't. It's hard to choose because you choose this character but not this choices. And I'm like, oh, and it represents Betty and Betty and Simon's choice. Like, Simon did whatever he wanted, but they never choose what Betty did, and Betty sacrificed everything for Simon, which is sad. And that's the choice. And now it's like, I did everything, and it's like, and it's really sad. And he goes back, and Simon is like, should I put the crown on? I don't know. But meanwhile, back in their world, there was a lot of crazy things. Like all the characters were attacking the Scarab, and then Scarab was like, I must destroy this world, and he grabs it and he made everything disappear, and it's like, whoa. And he's like, we gotta stop him. And there was a reference to Godzilla where Cake turns into Godzilla, and he's like, I'm Godzilla. Rah, take that. And there's these creatures that the egg people that were in Scarab's crystal weapon, and they were like the egg, and then that destroys. But then Prismo, like he was trying to get out of that cube that he was trapped in. It was like, I gotta save Fionna and Kate. But then there was like a scene where I'm trying to remember what happened, but yeah, he was trying to phone. Fionna was trying to phone Simon, and it was like, what should I do? And then it was like, I don't want this. He throws the crown, and then he's like, I don't know, and I'm glad Simon has stayed as Simon. Like he didn't went back to Ice King. He's Simon. Like I like that. I like that he's not Ice King. I like that they made him stay as Simon. But poor Simon. And then Simon, I can't remember if Goldbetty gave him this flower, and he's like, this flower, here. And then they blow it and reboot the world and fixed everything. And then Scarab's boss phoned him and was like, what, this world's canonized? Oh, no. And Fionna was like, no hard feelings. And then Scarab is like, hard feelings, I'm destroying your world. And then he's like, and then Prismo saved the day and sent a tank, and then it's Jay and Little Destiny and Baby Finn, and it's that tank from that post-apocalyptic world, and they help save the day. And then they used the crystals to put Simon in, the Scarab in the pixel egg, and then got rid of him. And his punishment was that he had to be a janitor for Prismo as like a shadow. But there's more to that, and I'll get to that in a second. But yeah, and Fionna did realize that her world is her own world. That's her world, and everyone is back to normal, and like as the city normal, not Land of Ooh fantasy normal. So she realized that that's her world now, and Simon was okay. Like he gave the flower, and that helped the world. But then Goldbetty blows him away, and he tries to find Ooh, and it's all these different realities, and he finds Ooh and goes home. Okay, so here's what bothers me. You know how in my past videos I always wanted them to find a way to rescue Betty? Oh, Betty in it. I wonder if they're gonna bring her back. Oh, that would be so awesome if they brought her back, because I always felt bad for Betty. I hope Simon and Betty get back together. And it's not fair for her to just be trapped in this Gulf fusion, but maybe live a normal life. And maybe have him finally rescue Betty and try to save Betty, and they can get reunited. I wanted that. I really like to see Betty and Simon get reunited, because it was really sad when Betty became Gulb and left. So, and all of that backstory of them just made me care about them even more. And poor Betty. I hope they get reunited, because throughout the series I always felt bad for Betty. Like Simon always loved Betty in the beginning when he was introduced, and then later she comes into his world, and then she's in Ooh, and then they're just like she becomes magic with Magic Man's hat and goes crazy like Simon, and then she becomes Gulb, and I'm like, I hope they rescue her, but they don't. She's still Gulb. Like, they don't try to get her out. Like, come on. Like, I always wanted them to rescue Betty, but then there's like a sad scene where Simon's like, I made all these choices, and I has to do what you want. And come on, does Betty really want to be Gulb? Come on. But there is a sweet thing, and I like where there's a part in where Simon is talking to Minerva, Finn's mother, and I like that. I like that they interact. But speaking of an interaction, we're never gonna see Fionna and Cake, like Fionna and Cake, and Finn and Jake interact like the original crew from the universe, like Finn, Princess Bubblegum, and Marceline, like the originals from the Prime universe. I'm guessing I'm just going to call it the Prime universe, the original universe. They never interact with Finn and Jake. So I guess Fionna. So I guess we never like we never like we never got to see Finn and Fionna interact with each other like the original Finn, like our version of Finn meets Fionna. So I guess because I remember 6 years ago, I've been waiting 6 years, and I never wait for another 6 years to finally see Finn and Jake meet Fionna and Cake, but like in that picture. But because I remember reading all the fan fiction on DeviantArt and waiting for Finn and Jake and Fionna and Cake to interact with each other, but it never happened. Like all they meet was weird variants. It's like someone at Adventure Time really hates the idea of Fionna and Cake and Finn and Jake meeting each other. Like there's like a lot of different ideas you can do with this, but we never get to see it. So I guess the whole fan uh, idea will just stay as that, a fan idea, and just seeing it as fan art and different pictures. So we're never going to see it. Sorry, it was still a great series. I just really wanted the Finn and Jake universe to meet the Fionna and Cake universe, and now we're never gonna see that. But, well, well, yeah. But there was a happy ending. Like, I love seeing Fionna and Cake in all these different clothes. I mean, I love seeing Fionna in all these different clothes, like overalls in construction, helping out, and gardening with Hunter. Like, I like that. I think Hunter and Fionna are gonna be a couple, and seeing her in that t-shirt at that coffee place, that was sweet. And seeing all the different hairs and ponytails, because I always liked Fionna and Cake and Fionna herself, and seeing all these different outfits just looks really cute. Well, and there was a really nice song where everything played, and I really liked that. And Scarab, he's like I said, he's a shadow in Prismo's realm, and then um, I'm recording this on my phone, and I think I'm getting messages. Okay, so short version is that Scarab has an idea for a video game where he's like, let's create medieval fantasy drama. And Prismo's like, whoa, Prismo shows him on this computer of what to do. So, but yeah, but anyways, it was a great series overall. I really wish Betty and Simon got reunited and Finn and Jake meet Fionna Cake properly, but I still like the series as a series. Well, that's my review, my episode recap. I hope you all enjoyed this episodes. I hope you enjoyed these episode recaps. I don't know what the future holds for Adventure Time. I guess Simon's journey end. Even though Adventure Time keeps ending, I still want to know what happens to these characters. Like, what happened to Jake? Like, how did he die? Did he die of old age? But that's my episode recap, and see you next time.